Alex had always imagined space travel would be thrilling, floating through galaxies, exploring strange planets, meeting aliens. But nothing could have prepared him for the day his life completely changed. It all began with an unexpected call, a mission unlike anything he had ever been briefed for. As a young soldier in the Galactic Army, Alex had traveled to many worlds, but today he would be headed to a place that no human had ever set foot on. The coordinates on his screen blinked, marking the destination of his next mission, a planet called Zorath, located in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The mission wasn't supposed to be complicated. He was told to meet with representatives of the Zorathian race, discuss intergalactic peace, and return to Earth. But as the ship made its way toward the planet, Alex could feel something was different, something he couldn't shake off. There was a strange energy in the air, a sense of anticipation he couldn't explain. The ship began its descent into the atmosphere, and through the window, Alex could see Zorath's massive, vibrant cities glowing beneath him. The planet was alive with light, its landscapes breathtakingly beautiful. But as the ship landed and the hatch opened, the sight that greeted him was far more extraordinary than anything he could have imagined. A tall, towering figure stood waiting for him. Woman, but not like any human woman Alex had ever seen. She stood proudly with her glowing red skin, eyes gleaming like molten stars. Her black armor seemed to shimmer, reflecting the strange light of the planet around her. The woman was beautiful, but there was a power in her gaze that made Alex feel small. He could tell she was no ordinary being. She didn't speak at first. Her eyes scanned him for a long moment, sizing him up. Alex's heart raced, unsure of what to expect. Was she a leader? A warrior? A diplomat? Her presence alone was enough to command respect. Finally she spoke, her voice deep and melodic. "Welcome to Zorath," she said, her tone steady and authoritative. "I am Queen Zura, ruler of this world. You've come for more than just a peace agreement, human. You've come to fulfill a duty you know nothing about." The words struck Alex like a bolt of lightning. He had no idea what she meant. Duty? He had been briefed about peace talks, about working together with the Zorathians to maintain peace across the galaxy, but there was no mention of anything else. Before he could respond, the Queen gestured for him to follow her. Alex did as instructed, feeling a mixture of curiosity and nervousness rising within him. The alien palace was even more awe-inspiring than the city outside. Massive columns stretched high into the sky, and the walls shimmered with a metallic sheen that seemed almost alive. The air was cool and filled with a strange fragrance, one Alex had never smelled before. As they walked deeper into the palace, Alex couldn't help but feel like he was stepping into a completely different world, one where he was no longer the one in control. The Queen's presence made it clear that she was someone to be reckoned with. Her long silver hair flowed behind her as she walked, and every step she took seemed to echo with authority. Alex tried his best to keep up with her, but he was distracted by the strange sense of awe and unease creeping over him. They reached a large chamber, where other Zorathians waited, sitting silently on floating platforms. The room was eerily quiet, the only sound coming from the soft hum of the energy field surrounding them. Queen Zura turned to face Alex, her piercing eyes locking with his. "I will not waste time," she said, her voice low. "The mission you've come for is not what you believe it to be. You, Alex, have been chosen for something far more important. A duty that involves more than just politics and peace." Alex frowned, completely confused. He had no idea what she was talking about. "What duty?" he asked, his voice shaky despite himself. Zura's expression softened ever so slightly, though there was still an air of seriousness in her gaze. "You have been chosen to fulfill a role within our society, a role that will require your full dedication. You will be forced into an alien romance." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Alex stared at her in shock, unable to comprehend what she was saying. An alien romance? Was she joking? He wasn't sure whether to laugh or question his own sanity. An alien romance? Alex repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. But why me? I'm just here for peace talks. Zura's gaze remained unwavering. Our world is facing a crisis, Alex. The Zorathian race needs new alliances, and the solution lies within the power of bonding across species. You are a human, and you will become a symbol of that bond. You will be forced into a romance with one of our kind. She paused, her eyes locking with his. And that bond will be stronger than any political agreement. The room fell silent as Alex processed her words. Forced into a romance? This was nothing like the mission he had been briefed on. His mind was spinning, and he couldn't focus on anything other than the overwhelming sense of confusion and disbelief. I don't understand, Alex muttered, his heart pounding in his chest. How can this be my duty? Zura's expression hardened. It is your duty now, Alex, whether you like it or not. And just like that, the course of Alex's life changed forever. He had no choice but to accept this alien mission, and the emotional weight of it began to settle in his chest. What did this mean for him? Was he really going to be forced into a romance with someone like Zura? What would it feel like to live in a world so completely different from his own? As Alex stood in the center of the grand chamber, he could feel a mix of excitement and fear rising within him. His journey had just begun, and he had no idea where it would lead. But one thing was clear. He was about to experience something he could never have imagined. The fate of the human race, and his own heart, would be tested in ways he couldn't even begin to understand. Little did he know, this duty was just the beginning of an unexpected adventure that would leave him blushing, questioning everything he had ever known about love, duty, and what it means to be human. The unknown stretched out before him, filled with strange alien customs and emotions he was not prepared for. But somehow, he knew that the universe had just thrown him into the greatest challenge of his life. Alex had no idea what to expect after Queen Zura's shocking revelation. His mind was still spinning from the idea that he had been forced into an alien romance, something he couldn't even begin to comprehend. What was even more unsettling was the fact that Zura, with her alien beauty and undeniable power, seemed so confident in her decision. There was no turning back now. He had been brought here under the guise of a peace mission. But this was something entirely different. A romance, forced upon him, wasn't just a matter of adjusting to a new culture or language. It was personal. It was intimate. And as Alex walked behind Zura through the grand halls of the Zorathian palace, he couldn't help but feel a strange, unexplainable pull toward her. Zura had led him to a small private chamber filled with soft, glowing lights that illuminated her surroundings. The room was warm, the air thick with a sense of anticipation. She turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "This is where we begin," she said, her voice calm yet commanding. "The duty you have been forced into isn't just about joining our worlds politically. It is about connection, about understanding each other's hearts." Alex stood frozen. He couldn't believe the situation he was in. He had been taught that duty came first, that sacrifice was an inevitable part of serving his people. But he had never imagined that duty would feel so personal, so emotional. He had to admit, there was something about Zura, something in the way she held herself, the quiet confidence she exuded, that made him question everything he thought he knew about duty. Zura stepped closer, her silver hair shimmering as it moved with each step. She was unlike any human woman he had ever met. Everything about her screamed power and grace. But there was something deeper, something he hadn't yet fully understood. Her eyes, glowing like distant stars, locked onto his with a mixture of authority and something else. A hint of curiosity, a hint of vulnerability. "Tell me, Alex," she said softly, her voice filled with intrigue. "What do you know of love?" He paused, caught off guard by the question. "Love? Well, I've never really thought about it. I mean, love is, well, complicated back on Earth. People talk about it, but it's not something you can just expect to happen. It takes time." Zura nodded, her lips curling into a slight smile. "For us, it is not about time. It is about connection, and you will understand this better once you experience it." The Queen took another step forward, her presence commanding the space around her. Alex tried to focus, to remind himself of his duty, but as he looked into her eyes, something shifted. There was a warmth there, an undeniable pull that he hadn't felt before. It wasn't like the cold, distant leadership he had imagined. This was different. Zura's gaze held a tenderness, a vulnerability that seemed to contradict her powerful exterior. "Do you feel it, Alex?" she asked softly. Her hand reached out, brushing against his, and a shock ran through him. It was as if the universe itself was reminding him of the connection between them. Alex blinked, his breath catching in his throat. "What is this?" he whispered. He had never felt anything like it before, an electric charge that traveled from his hand, up his arm, and straight to his heart. He could feel his pulse quicken, his breath shallow. This wasn't just the strange pull of an alien world. This was real. Zura's smile deepened as she saw the effect her touch had on him. "This is the beginning of your understanding, Alex. It's not just duty anymore. It's about connection, something you can't control." He stood there, his mind reeling, torn between confusion and the growing sensation of something stronger, a growing attraction. It wasn't just the physical attraction to her striking features, but something more profound, something that went beyond logic and reason. It was as if the duty he had been given was pushing him towards something much more intimate than he ever imagined. The next few days passed in a blur. Alex found himself spending more time with Zura, learning the ways of the Zorathian people. The once intimidating alien queen seemed to soften with every conversation they shared. They spoke of their worlds, their cultures, their hopes, and their dreams. Zura's confidence never wavered, but as Alex spent more time with her, he began to see the layers beneath the surface, the hidden sadness in her eyes, the weight of her responsibilities, and the loneliness that seemed to haunt her despite her power. Alex couldn't help but be drawn to her. Every conversation left him feeling more connected, more understood, and the longer he spent with her, the more he realized that his feelings were shifting in ways he couldn't control. One evening, as they stood together looking out over the vast Zorathian cityscape from the palace balcony, Zura turned to him with a question that seemed to hold everything in it. "Do you believe, Alex, that love can transcend the boundaries between species?" Alex took a deep breath. He hadn't fully understood what was happening to him, but standing next to Zura with the stars above and the alien city below, it didn't seem so impossible. I think I'm starting to believe that anything is possible." Zura's eyes softened. She stepped closer, her hand gently brushing his cheek. "Then perhaps you've already learned what you need to know." Alex felt his heart race as he looked into her eyes. There it was again, the pull. The feeling that they were meant to be in this together, even if it was complicated, even if it was unexpected. And as they stood there in silence, Alex realized that his duty was no longer just a matter of political alliance. It was a matter of the heart. For the first time since arriving on Zorath, Alex felt something shift deep within him. This wasn't just about fulfilling a mission anymore. This was about love, and whether he was ready for it or not, he was falling for Zura, the alien queen who had forced him into this romance. The duty he once dreaded was now the gateway to something beautiful, something that might just change his life forever. Alex's time on Zorath had been filled with strange and unexpected moments. What had started as a peace mission quickly transformed into something he never could have predicted. A romance with Queen Zura, the powerful and captivating alien ruler. Despite the unfamiliar customs and the overwhelming sense of duty weighing on him, Alex had slowly begun to accept the growing connection between them. But as his first official duty approached, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change once again. The day arrived when Zura summoned him to the palace's grand hall. She stood waiting for him, her regal presence filling the space. Her striking red skin glowed under the soft lighting, and her silver hair cascaded over her shoulders like a river of light. Alex's heart skipped a beat as he walked toward her. Despite all that had happened, despite the bond they shared, there was still an element of tension between them. It was as if both of them were on the edge of something far deeper than either was ready to fully acknowledge. "Are you ready for your first duty, Alex?" Zura's voice was calm, yet there was an edge to it that made Alex hesitate. He had grown used to her authority, but today, her tone felt different, more serious, more intense. Alex swallowed hard. "I'm ready," he said, even though he wasn't entirely sure if he was. His mind was still spinning from everything he had learned and felt in the past few days. He had been forced into this duty, and yet, it was becoming something that was increasingly difficult to ignore. His feelings for Zura had shifted from confusion to something deeper, something that made his heart race every time she looked at him. Zura led him into the heart of the palace, to a large chamber that Alex had not yet seen. It was filled with glowing symbols etched into the walls, and strange alien technology hummed softly in the background. In the center of the room stood a large platform, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. "This is where your duty begins," Zura said, her voice steady. "What happens here will bind you to our people, to this world, in ways you cannot yet comprehend." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. He had known this day would come, but now that it was here, he couldn't help but feel nervous. He had been briefed on his mission, but nothing had prepared him for the emotional weight of what he was about to do. Zura gestured for him to step onto the platform. As he did, the energy in the room seemed to shift, and a strange, tingling sensation ran through his body. His heart raced as he felt the presence of Zura behind him. He could feel her gaze, intense and all-knowing, but there was something else, a sense of anticipation that made him uneasy. "Your first duty," Zura explained, "is to bond with our people. The bond will strengthen both our worlds. It is a duty that only you, a human, can fulfill. You will experience the ceremony of unity, a ritual that marks the beginning of your connection with Zorath." Alex's head spun as the realization sank in. The duty wasn't just about political alliances or peace talks. It was about something far more intimate. This ceremony would tie him to the Zorathians, not just in duty, but in heart. He wasn't sure what this bond would mean for his future, for his life back on Earth, but he knew that everything was changing in this moment. Zura stepped forward, her eyes locking onto his. "Trust in the process," she said softly. "You will understand it soon enough." Before Alex could respond, the platform began to glow with a brilliant ethereal light. The symbols on the walls flickered and a low hum filled the air. Alex's senses were overwhelmed as the energy surrounding him seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. The room became alive with light and sound, a surreal and otherworldly experience. He couldn't tell if it was the alien technology or the growing tension in his chest, but the feeling was undeniable. Just as the energy reached its peak, something unexpected happened. The platform beneath him trembled, and a sharp, piercing pain shot through Alex's chest. He gasped, stumbling forward as the light around him grew blindingly bright. His heart pounded in his ears, and his breath became shallow. "Alex!" Zura's voice cut through the chaos, but it sounded distant, as if coming from a faraway place. He tried to speak, but the pain intensified, making it impossible to form words. He reached out toward Zura, but his body felt like it was being pulled apart by the energy coursing through him. The platform began to spin, and Alex felt himself falling into a dark, endless void. The last thing he saw before everything went black was Zura's face, filled with both concern and determination. When Alex awoke, he was lying on a soft bed in a dimly lit room. His body felt sore, and his head ached as if it had been crushed. He slowly sat up, the world around him spinning as he tried to focus. Zura was standing by his side, her expression unreadable. "What happened?" Alex croaked, his voice hoarse. Zura looked down at him, her eyes filled with an emotion he couldn't quite place. "You've experienced the first stage of the bond," she said quietly. "But something went wrong. The ceremony was never meant to be this intense. The bond should have been gradual, but something triggered an unexpected reaction in your body. Alex's heart raced as he processed her words. What do you mean? What happened to me? Zura's gaze softened. You've been marked by the bond, Alex. The connection between us is deeper than either of us expected. You've now been bonded to our people in a way no human has ever been before. The ceremony wasn't just about duty. It's about us. You and I. The bond we share is more than physical, it's emotional. Alex's breath caught in his throat. The pain he had felt, the overwhelming connection. Suddenly, it all made sense. But the twist, the shocking twist, was that his feelings for Zura had shifted into something he couldn't control. He had been forced into this duty, but now, it felt like fate had stepped in. I didn't expect this, Alex whispered, his voice barely audible. I didn't expect any of this. Zura stepped closer, her gaze intense yet gentle. You never expected to feel this way, neither did I, but the bond is real, Alex, and it's something neither of us can ignore. As the weight of the situation settled over him, Alex realized that his life, his duty, and his heart had all been irrevocably changed. The first duty he had been forced into was no longer just about politics, it was about a bond that would define the rest of his life. And now, more than ever, Alex couldn't deny the growing connection between him and Zura. The shocking twist was that he had already begun to fall in love with the alien queen, whether he was ready or not. Alex sat in a quiet corner of the Zorathian palace, his mind racing. The world around him had shifted in ways he never thought possible. What started as a mission for peace, a simple task for a soldier, had transformed into a life-altering journey, filled with unexpected twists, emotional turmoil, and, strangely, love. His duty, which he had once thought of as a burden, was now something that felt essential, something that tied him to a world beyond his own. Zura had left him alone for a while, giving him space to process the events of the past few days. He still couldn't shake the shock of the bond, the intense connection that had linked him to her in ways he hadn't expected. What had been a forced romance, a duty he could not escape, had evolved into something deeper, something that stirred his heart every time he looked at her. The bond was still there, lingering like a soft hum in the air between them. Alex had spent hours reflecting on it. The pain of the ceremony, the shocking twist of their bond had left him feeling vulnerable, but it had also opened his eyes to a new truth. He was falling for Zura. And though he had never expected it, the feelings were real, undeniable, and far stronger than he could have ever imagined. Zura entered the room quietly, her presence filling the space with an undeniable energy. She had changed over the last few days, her once cold and commanding demeanor softening as she had shared more of her life with him. She was no longer just the alien queen. She was a woman, a person who had her own fears, dreams, and desires. Alex had learned that in the time they had spent together. Alex, Zura said, her voice gentle yet strong. How do you feel? Alex looked up at her, the question hanging in the air. He could see the concern in her eyes. And for the first time, he realized that she too had been affected by the bond. She wasn't just the ruler of an alien planet anymore. She was someone who cared for him, someone who had opened herself up to him in a way that was both unexpected and deeply meaningful. I'm not sure what to feel anymore, Alex admitted, his voice quiet but filled with honesty. Everything has changed so fast. I didn't expect to feel this way. I didn't expect to fall for you. Zura's expression softened, and she walked closer, kneeling beside him. I didn't expect it either, she confessed. I never thought I'd feel this way about a human. But the bond we share, it's not just a political alliance. It's real, Alex. And I feel it just as much as you do. Her words struck Alex in a way that made his heart race. He had thought for so long that this bond was just something he had to do, a duty he could never escape. But now, in this quiet moment, he realized that the duty wasn't just something forced upon him. It had become a choice. And it was a choice he made every time he looked into Zura's eyes. You've changed everything for me, Alex said softly, his voice filled with emotion. When I first arrived here, I thought this was just a mission. I thought it was just about peace, but now I see that it's about so much more. It's about connection, about understanding each other, about learning from each other, and he paused, taking a deep breath. And it's about love. Zura smiled, her eyes glistening with emotion. She reached out, gently cupping his face in her hands. I never imagined a human could make me feel like this, she said, her voice trembling with sincerity. You have taught me so much, Alex, about love, about compassion, and about what it means to truly connect with someone, no matter how different we are. The room fell silent as they shared a moment that felt timeless. Everything that had happened, the mission, the duty, the shocking twist of their bond, seemed insignificant now. What mattered was the love they had found in each other. Despite the challenges and differences that had once seemed so impossible to overcome. Alex reached out, his hand finding hers. He held it gently, the warmth of her touch sending a sense of peace through him. For the first time in days, he felt a calmness settle over him. The future was uncertain, but in this moment, with Zura by his side, he knew he had found something real, something worth fighting for. I don't know what the future holds, Alex said quietly, but I want to face it with you. Zura's smile deepened and she leaned in, her forehead resting against his. We will face it together, Alex. No matter what comes, we'll face it as one. This bond, this love, will guide us. In that moment, all the uncertainty, all the confusion, all the fear seemed to melt away. What was left was simple. Love. A love that transcended worlds, that crossed the boundaries of species, that had bloomed against all odds. Alex realized that this was the true purpose of his mission, not just to fulfill a duty, but to find something he never thought possible, a love that was stronger than anything he could have imagined. As the sun set over the alien world of Zorath, casting a soft glow over the city below, Alex and Zura stood together. They were no longer just two beings from different worlds. They were partners, bound by a love that had grown through duty, through trials, and through shared experiences. And though the journey had been difficult, Alex knew that the love they shared was worth every moment. Together they would face whatever challenges the future had in store. Together they would build a future not just for themselves, but for the worlds they represented. And in the end, Alex understood that sometimes the most unexpected duties lead to the most beautiful, heartwarming stories.